Oh. Jumdende Deji Sheba Jumba Yandaba Zobe
Sanje Rebada Shasu Demba Dewa Sheba Jiden Kibu Due Kalo Yuva Lana Meba Lada Min
Minange Tumba Zange
Jumdende Begawa Shaja Tubala
Chazelo
Chazelo
Chodo
Chodo Joso
Chie Wo Tumba
Jumdende
Deji
Deji
Sheba
Sheba
Jum
Jumba Yandaba
Zobe
Zobe
Sange
Sanje
Rebada
Rebada
Shasu
Shasu
Temba
Demba Dewa
Dewa Sheba Jiten
Jiten Kemba Kibu
Due
Due
Kalo
Kalo
Yuva
Yuva
Lana
Lana
Meba
Meba
Lada
Lada
Minange
Minangi
Tumba
Tumba
Sang Bhagava
Begawa
Jaga
Shaja
Dubala
Tubala
Chazalo
Chatero
Chodo
Chodo
Kyos
Josu
Chie Wo
Chiu
Tumba Chomdende
Chumdende
Teji
Deshin
Sheba
Sheba
Trachum
Drachomba Yandaba
Zobe
Zobe
Sange
Sange
Rebada
Bada
Shasu
Shasu
Temba Tewa
Dewa
Sheba
Sheba
Chite
Jiten Kemba
Kibu
Kibu
De
Due
Kalo
Kalo
Yuba
Yu
Lana
Lana Nepal
Lada Minange Tumba
Tumba
Sange
Sange
Chomden
Chumdende
Bhagava
Begawa
Shaga
Shaja Tubala Chacha
Chazalo Chodo Kyos
Jasu
Chie Wo Kanze Kanye So
So
Kyotanze
Ketanze
Sachen
Sajen de la
Kum
Kumba
Tumbo
Dumbo
Ne Mane
Mane
Jiten
Jiten
De
de na
Choje
Choje
Sun Tese
Tese
Keba
Keba
Kyo
Kyola
Cha
Cha
Selo
Chalo
Namda
Namda
Kunga
Kuma
Chodu
Chodo Susam
Susam Ishi
Ishe
Gyazo
Gyatso
Serge
Serge
Lumbot
Lumbunda
Tapa
Taba
Jiten
Jiten
Sumna
Sumna
Lamel
Lamel
Gombo
Gombo
Chonyi
Chonyi
Gyola
Kela
Cha
Cha
Selo
Salo
Sencho
Sencho Demba
Time
Time
Travesh
Davesh
Sedo
Sendo
Trawa
Drawa
Gyola
Kela
Cha
Cha
Selo
Salo
Tute
Dute
Kyota
Kela
Sipa
Sula
Sumai
Suma Nyame
Nyame Genjin
Kenjen
Gyola
Kela
Cha
Cha
Selo
Salo
Gombo
Gombo
Tuji
Tuji
Chedem
Chendem
Tanje
Tanje
Gembe
Kembe
Tumba
Tumba
Po
Po
Sona
Sona
Yuntin
Yenden
Kyaso
Gyamso Shin
Teji
Tishin
Shala
Kela
Cha Selo Tabe
Taben
De
de
Cha
cha
Tawo
chawar kyu
Geweng
geweng
en
son
son le
le
du
du ji ji
Chidu
du dun
Dundan
dun cho
Chogyo
yu
Pa
shi
Shigyo
ge che
Chola
la cha
Cha
ce lo tu
Tune
ne
Te
te ve lam yan
Ramyante
den la ba
Laba Dala Raptu
shin ge
Shinge
tam ba
Damba
yin
Yenden
den den
Den
gin
Gindun
dun la
Layan
yan
Cha
cha ce lo di
Tiba
ba
Chi
ji yang mi
Ami
cha
Cha Shin
shin ge
Gewa
wa pun
Punsun
sun so ba
Soba
che rang
Rangi
ge sem
Semni
ne gin
Yonsu
sun
Tu
du di ne
Tine
san ge
Sanje
tem
Tamba
ba
Kama
kama rang
Rari
re ma
Mame
me
Dan
dan yu
Yuma
ma si ba
Seba Chu
chu tang me
Mela
lam lo
Lodan
dan
Dinda Bu Tuje Chena Tita
Da
Sonandi
sonandi
Tamje
tamje
Ziba
siba yi
Koban
koban ton
Toni Kyungi
gadu
Pratut
de gada
Katanata
nada
Chive
chive la tu
Laptrupe
sebe
Sipezole
sole
Trova
drova
Trova
wa
Show. I prostrate to the three noble rare sublime ones. As did I hear one time the Bhagavan was dwelling on massive judgment. Ajagya together with a great community of monks and a great community of Buddhists. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of perception. Also, at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasava Arya Avalokitish looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregate sources of inherent nature, and through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra, it is to the Bodhisattva Arya Avalokitish. How should any son of a lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of is that and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregate souls as empty of inherent form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is also not other than empty. In the same way, feeling discrimination, composition of factors and consciousness are Shariputra, likewise all phenomena are emptiness without characteristic, comfort, substances, stainless, not without. No Shariputra, therefore in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition of factors, no conscious, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object. There is no I element, no one up to and including no mind element, no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on up to and aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely, dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration, and with having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of no. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three downs also manifestly, completely awakened, unsurpassable, perfect, complete in life, in reliance on the perfection of. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly passes suffering should be known as true, since it is not forced. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is the Dayata Om Gati Gati Para Sangati Bodhi Sohai Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Sattva training the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Bhagavana rose from the concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshwaras. As it was a son of the lineage, it is like that one should practice the profound perfection of, just as you have indicated, even the Tathagata, the Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharitati Putra, the Buddhist, Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara, and the surrounding in there. Along with the world of God's humans, the Suras and Gandharvas were overjoyed and highly praised as spoken by Bhagavan. Kangi Denshin Dawa Joan Kaba Meba Kemep Yaba Meba Tameba Wonwa Meba Tromep Tade Demin Deji Min Trepa Nichi Shidem Sobe Sange Manangi Tambada Chazelo Nyenda Jiwa Zana Kuji Nigi Nichi Tize Kain Dola Pemba Jena Lamshi Nigi Chitin Dundra Sebak Kandayanda Dambe Tunan Namba Kunden Dino Tishum Dujang Sembe Soje Sange Gini Yumbel Chazelo
Sanje Chodan Zoje Chonan La
Chanjo Pado Dani Kyabje Dagi Jinso Jebe Zonangi Drola Penje Sange Drupara
Sho Sanje Chodan Zoje Chonan La Chanjo Pado Dani Kyabje Dagi Jinso Jebe Zonangi Drola Penje Sange Drupara Sho Sanje Chodan Zoje
Janam
La Chanjo Bardo Dani Kyapsu Che Dagi Jinso Jebe Tonan Rola Benjir Sanjen Rubara Shu Angi Duzenya Sone Dawatum Jebam Bejer Tambe Chene Kodam Dela Chatse Kazangi Kyabje Jhado Munjin Kolia Dangzin Shandeb Nalji Yedi Lungdi Yabuji Cholma Choloji Chonsong Didi Yangyoji Shugyo Jabo Sangdos.
Yesterday in relation
Munjin said.
No. Yesterday in relation to identifying the object to be negated, I quoted from the text called Dangzi Shadab, so that one which is the debate between ignorance and wisdom realizing selflessness. So I wasn't able to quote properly from that text, so I thought, I would do that properly now. No.
지단 노ten더부터 슈베이나 풍볼 라미 나오셰스 다 갈소르 dakshi 풍볼 때네 아니 텔리아 따야디 강사로 나 따그르와 풍볼 라미 나오셰스 아니 텐다베기 아니 나티기 디 덴루 까점지스 풍볼 라미 나오셰 디 덴루 까점지스다 텐데 나티 아니 덤바투버 간데지 숭구도 유랑원의 투버 간데지 숭구도 데 숭아 따르도 아니 마투버 덴루 까점기 아니 메가 진단 유튜브 채널 메가 진단 유튜브 채널 나랑원의 마투바 사르지 나 덴버 마투바 사지 메가 진단 유튜브 채널 아니 디 메가 랑원의 마투베 메가 텔라 슈마냠시 세제 나르다 세제 여바 세제 나르다 덴바 어디 간들이야 친구들 타외 고네 에네 공고레스 다티 가제다디 풍볼라 미는 나오 세티레스 다 디트 랑원의 마투 턴더 마투바 어디 간들이야 에네 메가즈나 유튜브 채널 세제 나르다 덴바 어디 거레스
No.
당자요 세자요 세자 나르다 덴바 어디 친구 타외 고네 미고 레스 다티 두르두트레
No.
다 돔데와트레
No. For this, if we make the point in a summarized way, then the person is imputed depending upon the aggregates which are its basis of imputation. And so we need to investigate the way that I is grasped, how it's grasped as being truly existent, existing from its own side. And we need to meditate on the non-existence of an I existing from its own side. So that what you're meditating is actually a non-affirming negation or simple negation. And you need to meditate on that non-affirming negation with clarity, and not just clarity, but like strength of clarity and vibrancy. And you need to meditate on it without any sinking or distraction to objects of attachment. No.
다 딘데기 가제다 무인진베 고사스나민도 로 노르와 로 추바 딜 칸리스 제중 모두 나야르스나 나타 풍보 카탈니스 풍보데 로스티샤 나데 로스티샤 답에나 가잔디 차제 양세 드메나라야 차제 잡아 양세 드메나 가잔 롱탐나 시제제 다 생인데 타녀도 여봐 제디 여봐 시샤가 토라 다 르기 에네 수르도 다 생이지 투투네 트베 다 생이지 삼단 엔데 에네 지다 투제기 베토네 엔 담바마도 땡라 베베이나 엔 르제기 엔 동바차그레스 지 숭도와 다 디숭이 디레 디숭이요레 나타 풍보 카탈네 데메 지점 고나 풍보를 마테베 나직 수수 같이 그 담바마도 같이 공부 있나요? 데메 지점 공장니스 진당무스 민글싱스 다디 담바마도 공부로디 다도 짐바도 진당공게 차고 말했어. 그래서는 유생직 당진 진당공게 차고요 말 그래서는 풍보를 미베 나 디레데 메인자 디죄베 나지 인자 나니 가자 다드 가제 다드 진수 칸데레스나 나니 풍보라 미네 담바투바 nangxing nawa tedatu and zingi yorwas.
No.
Nothing the Zindangas, Pumbol mina, oh, Trashiri, Tundure, John, so the Tipumbo mean interesting, Zingi orwa. Oh, Chesa, Zimbe Kalangani, Pumbola mine, the Dambatu Zingi ore, Tande Gombe Kala, Pumbola Mate, Nachi Shani, the Pumbo and Jamaican Nachi, Susu Gomje, on Luling Kansachi Charni, and the Mamadu Kaza Gombe in the Zindanga Machate, Karisna. 다도 좀 거라 풍보를 메네 anything 나를 좀 고도 왔어
문제는 나잠을 믿네데 디카스트 게임인데스 난진 랭게디
나잠스 보다 나잠 생긴데 나디 가리임바스는 풍보를 뗀다고 나잠스는 데려부터 나잠스는 풍보를 맞대면 나서야지 짠이지 말이야 나는 풍보를 라미네 Dembar Truba Nawai, Nawa Tether Matruba, Seme Nation Ronane, Neki, Shend means. Oh, T. The Corsati, not a Pumbo Katane, and not singing Shaje, and did Demba Matruba, the Ramon Matru, Kazet and Baba Inaya, Nanziam, Danzino, Nugumare, the Carson Zendan government, Mus government was.
No. Then it mentions in the text one way that you kind of a mistake that one could make in one's meditation on emptiness. So so this would involve taking as your object of analysis an I that's completely separate from completely separate from the aggregates. So no matter how much you apply reasoning to see whether that exists as something separate from the aggregates, one with the aggregates and so forth, it's not, you're not going to affect the innate I-grasping mind, because the innate I-grasping mind is one where you're grasping at an I depending upon the aggregates. And so here, because you're, instead of meditating in that way, you're meditating on an I that's that's separate from the aggregates, apart from the aggregates, and you're analyzing that, then your meditation will not be one that is acts as the antidote to the I grasping, because it's not. It's not a mind which engages in the same referent object as the true grasping, and engages in the object or apprehends the object in a way which is completely opposite from the I grasping.
That tanda gen kerang chuwati page lang search do na zamla mi basati di lang search do yan lezen shinda jigman 풍부 초점 라떼네 나오냐면 로티기 요레스 풍부 초점 라떼네 나오냐면 로케싱스 디코랑 나오냐면 로케단데 대가레스 나오냐면 로테네스 미방 알아 미바치레스 나오냐면 로테네 미방 알아 미네네스 남바데 가르르스나 아니 라모네 투바이나레 된다바 투바이나 담바투 징기 요레스 대다르 뎀버 짐베 디 아니 that cursor gajeda dangzin said tires tether dember tether demba dinzi tether shemba denshin tether now denais that denshins nakar denas nakar dinzis nakar o tenderes ukti sebusungduwa.
So the thing is that it won't have the same referent or object of observation. The connection between the antidote to the I grasping and the I grasping itself is that they need to be referring to the same object, and like engaging in that object, grasping that object or apprehending that object in a way which is the complete opposite. So then the text moves on to something like a separate topic, different idea kind of thing. So it mentions that it's depending upon the aggregates that the mind thinking I arises. So that mind thinking I observes the I that does exist, and the aspect is existing from its own side. So in other words, it engages in it as existing from its own side, or apprehends it as existing from its own side, or ultimately, or however you want to put it. So grasping at the I in that way is self-grasping or true grasping, and that appearance of an I existing from its own side, or so that appearance is the appearance of an I existing from its own side, or existing truly, and so forth. So where we had got to, the verse we were looking at when we left off last night was this one, verse 12. It says, things exist, but not in this way. But not in this way of stark facts rendered in dichotomies. For the inseparable bond of our loving parents is more one of tenderness and joy.
That will coordinate to Masonga. Karsore. Yaga Papa Yuli Yedevegi and Cherama Dodeva and Semzamba, Ranguba, what a Tutsu Corte, and Tayo coordinate Masung Tol Sungure. Chendo Namrita, Shersun Kembe Ama Lanjengi, Tarkar Sula, Pembo Zumriki, Yata Tao, Zimba Lemeki, Chu Nyomba, Nime Tsutuki, Tumbungarme, Tanya Natsoshi, Dober Chegang, Ama Gemonte, Torne Dugos. So that will coordinate to Song Bindu, Tawali Chinju Loshas, or that did it, that din Nandela, Pejiguna Shays and Rigre, Ama Lanjengi, Targasus, Tombani singing, but Lanjen Kabukarjanchi. Chatabar Kake Meding, what did they check? That Chetamawa don't do about Tuzugi, and Zinzu Tone, and Kabukajantel, Chanda Kabu Nabudamidani, with Tana Seshavaneshires. And some Zambatabuki Tenene, and Sumzi Zeji singing, Tawan in the Medevici, Sene, and it Tene, so much to them make a Zimba Dindusen, or the Casa, Red Dada, Zimbadinduru, or Tools Chene, and Lava Mebek, Junior Maneshires. And Umaranjuva, Umetawa Shing, when you met Mauji, Rede, Ransengi Juba, Yoba, Shishagi Tola, and then turned on my Mebaji, shed Devati, and Lange, but Shinjam, and but Kaukajan Yedavati, Tomun Amanashi, Tom Trevanashi Cerberus.
Tom Trevanashi, listen.
Tom Tsubasa Nashi, or Tom Chunga Nashi Cerberus, or Tuzo Gangegi, Takandar, Kajan Gazatavati, and Rangone Yoba Shisha Chigitone, and Yena Rangone Yogo Yoba Shisha Chigitone, Tabutan and Baba Inza, and Drondo Naso Chigitone, and Seshavres, or that is Sunguyara, the Indu, and Tombani Gitanet Tatuti, and Yetumindus.
No. So now here we are on verses 13 and 14. So this is talking about certain groups or philosophical systems that didn't really get the point when it comes to the view. In other words, they were mistaken. So it's talking about the systems that existed in India, the Vaibhashikas, Sautrantikas, Chittamantras, and then the Svatantrikas. So let's read that. So it says Vaibhashika, Sautrantika, Vijñanavada, so that's the Chittamantras, and the three Eastern Svatantrika masters, though they label this mother, this limestone like white elephant with name so divergent as external matter, a grinning tiger, an intrinsic object, a crazed monkey, inherently existing non-dual nature, a ferocious bear, that they all have seem to have lost the old mother. So what this means is, so if we suppose emptiness to be like a purely, a pure white elephant, an elephant which is pure white in color. So then the Vaibhashas come along, and their way of understanding emptiness is like painting different colors on the elephant and making it look like a tiger. So with names so divergent as external matter, a grinning tiger. Then with the Chittamatras, the Vijnanavatas, so they say there's no external form, there's no form that is substantially different from the perception of form, and that the mind itself is truly existent. So they're just like like crazy monkey, the crazy monkey. And then the Svatantrikas. So now the Svatantrikas, they are Madhyamikas. They do negate true existence, ultimate existence, but all on the basis of things being things existing from their own side. So they say they do exist from their own side, but they don't exist ultimately. So this is like making the elephant like a ferocious bear, as it says here, ferocious bear. So these, so all of these, their basic assumption is that things exist from their own side, and then on top of that, they sort of add various layers onto the object, various exaggerations or superimpositions. So they all kind of like miss the point.
To the national the robotica. That under the Cheta Mabegi and Tundam Dema Kandiji Lumunzi Chigare. Kunzo Dema Kandiji Lumunzi Chigare. Stevena Jombam Lu Chashi Soso Sevana. Rangzing lo doyatla kunzo demaski ores bena pumba de toye jomya duas o didi kunzo demares ta duchen choji chameda sheba tugi chamendo tuzo be sheba tawe tugi tarto tuzo dondam demares garesna jomba de shiya minduas
No.
Ranging Loti, Durgimaris, Chombam, Le Chashi, Soso Sevana, Ranging Lot Dortu, Dorduina, Kunzo Demaris, Ranging Lot Durgimena, Tondan Demaris.
So for example, with the Vaibhashikas, how they assert ultimate truth and conventional truth. So for them, a conventional truth would be something such that the mind apprehending it would be lost when you destroy it or when you separate it into its parts. Like, for example, with a vase, so they would say that it's a conventional truth because, you can destroy it with a hammer, for example, and then the mind apprehending it is lost, Then for the ultimate truth, they would include everything that's permanent. And then amongst the impermanent things, they would include as ultimate truths the directionally partless particles and the temporally partless moments of time, because none of those can be broken up into their parts, and therefore the mind apprehending them wouldn't be lost by breaking them up into parts, because they can't be broken up into their parts.
That then do de barba. That do debe and Tundam Dembati Mobores. Dembatruba, Mobo, and Dembatruba, Mobo, those Tunji to do yours. What that Tindiji and Tundambatruba, Mobo Gandia, to shame orders. And Tawa Chinzan so to Kunzo Demba. What in the Ding Namshati, Yambet, Lord Logic, shake was.
No. Then the with the Sautranticas is almost like the opposite, because for them, ultimate truth, impermanent, functioning thing, those are all mutually inclusive. So for them, the ultimate truth would refer to things which are subject to change, impermanent things. And then conventional truth would refer to everything which is permanent and not subject to moment by moment change.
어, 다 저서 강강원의 야다 차원의 시래도 왔어. 딱 리모 가보가장질 천나서 당원의 시 야다 차원의 시 르제제. 다 강달 저서 소고야기 셰고야기 자와 타도데 아니 예나 랑원의 요거 시샤지기 토네 녜바 룩스 체네 게스티디 셰프텐데르바.
And so this really is like, so it's something that's just, like made up conception, made up by the mind, made up by them. It's something they make up. So it's really very much like, painting stripes on the elephant to make it look like a tiger. So, and then why do they need to explain things in that way? Is because their fundamental idea is things exist from their own side.
다 센자만 되게 배지 시에서 대가래 딜다 양요 시에스 케멘도.
Then for the Chittamantras, we don't really need to mention that again, because I already just mentioned it. So they say that there's no the object, there's no the external object that's substantially different from the mind, and the mind itself is truly existent.
네루 딩루도 도고도 왔어. 용도 딩루도 네루 타도데 된담바 투번 도고도 왔어. 어떠서 개차고도 왔어. 군다랑 그 챙이기 맞주바. 아니 동시 최전대다 뒤띵 네루디 아니 된담바 투바. 딘데지 되고도 왔어. 아니 마세브지 되기 시작한 신래 아니 숭지 제직 이뭐 유천도 체네. 다다래 지된 간에 셰바데 딩루도 되버로 다 셰바 딩루 자인의 요마로 진짜자 레바메베 주니버스 어다 티레
So they say that, so for them, the ultimate way of being, the ultimate reality of things exists ultimately, not just there's an ultimate truth, it exists ultimately. So, they talk about the three natures. So of the three natures, the imputed phenomena, those are conventional truths. Then the thing which is empty, like form and so on, and so on, which are empty, then that plus the ultimate reality of those things, those would be ultimate truths. So they negate the existence of an external object, an object which is external to the mind, has an external existence, substantially different from the mind, and say that the mind itself is truly existent. So that really is, that's like a crazy monkey.
다 딜이야 샤숨 캠보 세치도 왔어. 전도 남리다 샤숨 캠보스.
샤숨.
다 샤숨 생인데 란주버 시기어래. 딜이야 도디주버 우마 란주바다 내주주버 우마 란주바. 니 숭기어래. 디날에다 숨세야디 야메나 로벤 링덴제 도디주버 우마 란주바 로벤 링덴제다 디젠다 로벤 이신임부체. 에네 내주주버 우마 란주바 로벤 시와초세제. 디숨데 자야레샤 야메나네 내니저 오마 란주블로베 시워서도 대제나 까말라실라 다 간다 군주 숨래 로벤 링덴제다 로벤 이신님보다 로벤 시워서 코난솔라 샤숨 캠보 사임브레 다 뒤주 간데지르스나 숭제 제신기 동안 되기어데 최남기 내루 타도디 아니 담바 마투나야 아니 랑기 챙이 줘바지 되어was 랑칭 예나 랑칭이 두고와 제가 된 담을 매봐 숨지 제 가서 숨지 된다면 또 동나 동바 제 생기 동나야스 중이 동반이데 타니 답답도 자스는 얘기요 같이 랑 생이 줘 인자 주도도요
수지 제신도 내나야 수도 동반이
다 주도네요 동반이도 주도네요 진스 다 랑생이도 지마인도 주도네요 근데 대인도 다 동마로 나시레스 되게 란젠 페미시비 시와 야부지 예버디 야 거라 더블 세샤베 동가로티디 야마로 동나고 인도 가버와 어다 띠띠리지 동bungarmas 어디 샤송 컴베기 chen binelu tenan bebege nelu ti and musuntante and tobe droda shabaji lanjen de tomso shabana shinji and te angarmaji otenji resta ngarmasadi I nyomud shije do ganga che pongya gi sungdi yamendo
no yeah, so now here in this these two verses, say that the three Eastern masters, the three Easterners. So Vaibhashika Sutrantika Vijnana Vada and the three Eastern masters. So the three Eastern masters, what that refers to. So with the in the Svatantrika system, you have two. Well, that actually includes two systems in turn. So you've got the what do we call that anyway? Anyway, we can just say the usual term we use anyway. The Svatantrika Svatantrika, and then the Yogacara Svatantrika. So the Svatantrikas who have these certain similarities with the Sutrantikas, and then there are the Svatantrikas who have certain similarities with the mind owner, the Chittamatra system. So there are those two within the Svatantrika then. But then who are these three masters, the ones that are referred to as the three Easterners? So that would refer to Bhava Viveka, then Gyanagarbha, and then Shantirakshita. So they all say that if something exists, then it has to exist from its own side and it has to be findable. It has this kind of like some kind of like autonomous existence. So for them, so this is all something. So they say things that there's nothing that exists truly, nothing exists ultimately, but they say that nevertheless they do exist from their own side, and they're findable when you look for them in the basis of imputation and so forth. So again, in this case, although basically fundamentally the emptiness is like this peaceful elephant, white elephant. Maybe if it was a different color, like a very dark colored one, it would be a bit different. But so it's a white one, peaceful one. So with their superimpositions, then it's like they've painted that peaceful white elephant to make it look like a ferocious bear.
That di tonda dodo robde tonda di jangu jawi shindu yang lungde nande pande dawa tabe umajube si tingi shisin samujirung dine ngogom nyele joyi never tonjul diyan sanja chen shingi tusu chumingurs te konanigi te shisin samu ta beti lo member namgi chakwa jayo riba lo de member namgi chakwa jaya lo de cho namgi gawa jaya o tingi shisin samu jirung dine ngogom nyele joyi isna rangone yoba shisha tolya lo komba shukchingwe yedeba tuzugis ngogom nyele ngeba tongju dia sanja chen singi tusu chumingus ta san keba sanja chingbo lobe yinye dabu lobe cholan dabu choda dabu o ta dande di 샤송 캠보 어다 도저 강가 아니 대코나니 녜 삼스나 아니 망해 삼스나 되게도 마오스네 아니 조바란데는 되는 숨바레스 간다 대주기 백문에 단에기 장주성이 냠래 요래 지르벤내를 캐버지래 따외내리야 강강점지 빼미시비 슝띵 서브 숨고요래 레디 아니 단주비 통모마인백이 아니 가제네 타시타와 가베기 아니 딘데기 따와니디 동반이기 따와디 아니 툴 추요마레스 이제 아니 반다다와타베 켈링이스 되게도 마우스 어다 디다지 바래.
And this is really the same as what Chandakirti says in a verse which also His Holiness the Dalai Lama repeatedly quotes. So the meaning is the same as this verse. So there's this verse in the Madhyamagavatar where the Chandakirti says that those people who with a lower, like sort of inferior intellect, inferior understanding, when they turn their minds to this, the meaning of thusness, emptiness, then it fills them with fear. Whereas those whose minds are more developed, then when they hear about emptiness, then it fills their minds with joy. And he goes on to, whether he mentions them one by one, I'm not sure, but he, who he's referring to is, who refers to is Vasubandhu, then Dhammakirti, Dingnaga, and these three masters from the East. So he says they simply didn't understand this ultimate, the ultimate object of negation of that we find in the Prasangika system. So, even though they had the practice of bodhicitta and they were, great scholars in terms of the five sciences, but they couldn't couldn't understand this this unique object of negation of the Prasangika system. And in his writings, like in the Chandakirti's writings, like in his commentary, his own auto commentary, his own commentary to the Madhyamaggavatara, he has a way of referring to their ideas in such a way that you can understand that their idea is like an inferior idea, and an inferior, they have an inferior understanding, ultimate reality.
아마 게모도 또르는 두고 사야데 직디 nenga ch모레스 동반이기 된 또요 말레스 동반이기 된래 아니 진줄로도 교버레스 어두스체네 다 쳐버치는 숨버레스.
And then here in this, so in the very last line, so this seems to, I think the Tibetan is a bit more like, yet they have all lost the old mother. He's very, he states this very definitively, very, clearly, that they did not understand emptiness. Their understanding of emptiness, of ultimate reality, was mistaken.
되게 막 송야 대단 또르네도 세팅다 던다지 버래. 마토스는 콘도 맞추스는 되게 마우스 다대지래. 다 단대치디 다 드니지 마동에 슈토면도 딱 뭐네 자네체나 아니 신의 드라마와 전도 드라마와던 너 대백이 아니 자외 둔다 칸데레샤 아니 샘잠베 자외 둔다 칸데도 되는 랑규바 카르카르도 dembanyi kol chamne yore lojibe kol chamne yore ribaya sem jung kor ta tuzo ganga keja yore tene yu jindang kol mambo yore yu da yu jeng jindang kol tujin dusu tegeti ngone tanachana ken goya ta tonanan goya ji dendenre ta tuzo 켐바 시샤지 톤 인동도 진 숨도
In fact, at this, so where in this text it says they have all lost the old mother, then that's the same as the way in which so Chandrakirti in his auto commentary, the way he puts it is a bit different, but it comes down to the same thing. They're saying these masters simply they just didn't get it. They just didn't understand. And so here at this point, it would be good if we could go into the basic assertions of the Vaibhashikas and the Sautrantikas, also likewise the Chittamatras, their assertions, and also the Svatantrikas, their assertions about the two truths and so on. All the explanations about minds and mental factors, how they assert the existence of objects, classifications of objects, minds, and so forth. These are all things that we do need to understand, and that that we really, we need to take an interest in.
That didn't pugyu nandeng tolia. That's sumudua. Pugyu nandeng tolia. Sanyin kanruki kiru mambu. Sadon zimegi rangribas di sajaga sungore. Sadon zime ki rangribache. Re. Kada lundu ki kunsan rangshils tingimare. Machu hengegi chaja chambut kargure. Yomi mimi ki kalan trasos. Sengendi da kawachilia sunguyana. That the Konanzo Tumund Mendo. Yomi Mimiki Kalan Trazo Takanda Chazo Usungi Kamereta Chajan Zojen or Sadon Sunju or Yomi Mimiki Kalan Trazo and Nazo Tanyegi Shabu Drojans and Shilu Tubushi Yina like this Zumu Zusat Chishians. That Kandar Sedon Sunju Sungu Yanare, Kadarundu Sungu Yanare, Chaja Chambu Sungu Yanare, or that Tendegi Dio de Yorbe. That Yaba my Meba my Tawati, or Tuzo, and the Tawa Gangikin subshuis, Shepherd Rossen, Yakshu, Tawakine, Butakshu, or Dinson, Nazo Tanyegi, Shepherd Ross, or the Rigsam said some said Tendegi, Tanya Dam the Mambo, Sungurwa, or Tendin, the Nazo Tanyegi, and Shepherd Rossen, Tawakin subshuis, or Tusjane, the Nella Kebachina, the Yawshuji dos, Shilu Tibuchina, like this, Tombani get Bande Tango Sumba Teta, Tata Chigi, Nel Kebachina, Yabu de, and the tender of the Munzi Kandajil Nangi Yobe, Yinams, said Chivetsu to Shabre. Amagamo to Torn and go soon Yamare, Amagamo the Shemin do soon Yamare, Zumuzu said the Chishi ans, that tender Chi. Oh. That's a tiny the terry, and we met or the contagion in us, or the
when it doubt of it, the Tauti Tata who you may,
or the Tata Chumbajin Rui the Medans.
Then the authors reviews the Tibetan systems a little. So he says, so this is verses 15, 16. Likewise, many scholars and meditators amidst the Sakya, Nyingma, Kama, and Trukpa. Pride themselves on their diverse.
You mean me didn't do Western Mendo.
Pride themselves on their diverse terminology, So this is interesting. Anyway, the ways of translating. So anyway, that's okay. So reflexive awareness, subject-free, empty and luminous. So this would refer to the view and the terminology of the Sakyapas. And then when it says, yes, okay, so that's it. Yeah, the primordial purity and spontaneity, Samantabhadra's true face. So that would be the Nyingma view system, if you like. Then when it says the Mahamudra, the uncontrived innate nature, so that would be the Kagyu tradition. Then it goes on, neither is nor is not. So not sure which specifically of those that might refer to, but it refers to the view where you meditate on things being neither existent nor non-existent. So that's there's that view. And then it says, this is all splendid if the target is hit, but I wonder what you're all pointing at. So what he's saying is, you know, these, if your approach to these includes the understanding of the nature of reality as taught by Chandrakirti, then that's all well and good. That's all, you know, very, you know, that's all quite wonderful. And, you know, in other words, you've hit the point, you've hit the target. But he doesn't exactly go on to say they didn't understand, like in the verse before, but he sort of questions whether, you know, these views do actually include those people who teach these views, you know, are teaching on the basis of understanding the view according to Chandrakirti. No.
Oh, that indu, and Saja Nyingma Karju Duba, or Tuzolia, Gaba Jabach Mares, or that dig Sumsi, and Sig Jabab, or Tuzo Mindachi, Pejuchi Tangi Yaba Inza, and the Bango Ludu Banden Davegi. Sumbegi and Tawa Titan, Tata Sanjang Combatida, Tata Devici, Yungu Namenas, those Tibetsu, Timado, Kawajavich Mares.
So he's not refuting, he's not negating them. What he's saying is that they have these ideas and they use these terms, and he's very straightforwardly asking the question, are these views combined with the understanding of reality according to Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti?
Oh, that Delia Naransugi, Tusjava Cheva Kavla, and Dendon Umachimbo, Tandangaransugi, Jangolam Zonga Chimbe, Bengo Papa Ludu Ta, and Logan Sanjay Janda, Dawa Tabe Gombana Shinchi, Dendo Oma Masun Shaba Tidan, and Sajanima Gi Tawatini, Gavareve, Kaga Yorve, Chigba Reves, that thing around the Jabachati, Kachambuchita, so Pamnet, Kachitawa Tel Tugrovas. Oh, that Tilaya, Tene, oh. The Kyabje Jhado Mambo once, and Gashe Kachi, and Penjolos and Chigen, which is Nuene Sumbaina, and so Mindo Manaya, Nedon Luri Lakeshi, Nyamyo Cheng in Nanjorbe, Jen of Gombachi to pubs, or that Chajan Zochen that to the Mombuchi Yore, Chiju Zochen Yore, or to Zoganga, and Nedon Lungri locations or go Nangachuni Sundanangados Lunda Ribeki and Nel Kyabje Gogus Kyabje Gogus Taka Nedon Lungri location Kyabje and Yamyong in Nanjo was sandy in Tetar Shebe Tendelia so Yongdol Garne and do what sushi in the Chabji or Tindechigi and Shabaina and Gendu Dugumendo, Combatic Pagadus, or the Penjolos of Children to Nessunguyares.
So now, when we come to analyze ourselves, when we come to check for ourselves, then we have the Rinpoche Lama Tsong Kappa, whose explanation of the nature of reality is draws on the understanding, the teachings of Nagarjuna, Buddhapalita, Chandakirti. So what we would need to do is to examine whether the view that is taught in the Sakya tradition, Nyingma tradition, Kagyu tradition, whether they're whether they contradict, whether they're the same as the way in which Nagarjuna, Buddhapalita, and Chandakirti taught, or what, so we would need to investigate that. So certainly the terminology that they use is different. So the point would be to see whether essentially they're saying the same thing. And in fact, according to Panchen Lodron Chögyatsen, so what he says in his Mahamudra teachings is that whether we're talking about he talks about many traditions, amongst them Mahamudra, the Dzogchen, and so forth. And he says that when somebody who's really a great scholar or expert in terms of logical reasoning and the scriptures, the understanding of the scriptures, and somebody who is can make some kind of judgment according to their own meditative experience, they would understand that these all come down to the same point.
Ka taganashi ane Kyabje Rinpoche tange musel se chabe nala ene sajegi ta sedon sungju kogi lamde namsha chi yorwa o ti ko teleya an tuchen bewa pe lamde menga nam le ta gi mundu yi she milam tuya mimas milam tuya ti ane sedon sungju ti keje de tagas le ta shabe ti kuwe keje res nge milam tuya lagu mares o tinde sungudwa Kyabje Rinpoche ta sajawa ge tawa o sajawa ge tawa ti ane tuchen bewa pa nema chumba chires ane tendawa ti ene lamde gi menga tuzo le ta shaba ene tagas kukbe she shaba mundrus na kukbal re rwa o tende she shaba nge milam tuya lagu maris ngo yuste kawa kawa milam tuya lagu maris mundru yin she milam tuya mima she ta Kyabje je tange musele tuchen bewa be lamde gi menga nam le ta gi mundru yin she milam tuya mimas o tende sungduwa tando tina mabudu je sajaba chambu yapse ta chuji penchen dewar shibu sunram dugyu tadala kyamba tome di geshi gezo ge tingi pudu chungwala ya nga nyeba lakwe lada tuchen bewa bala soba tume ngusu chingil samgi mikyabe nenjur ki wonchu yinba ku yun shindu rinmo kongne lekbar chumne tsikza mayinbe teba tembu topsins kirurubin chigot.
So Kyabje Rinpoche, oops, this is coming off. Sorry. So in a text called the Dispelling the Darkness of Wrong Views, so one text by Kyabje of that title. So he says there that regarding the Sakya teachings on the union of clarity and emptiness, which comes down from the great Indian master Virupa. I can't remember.
Virupa.
Anyway, Virupa. That's how he said it in Tibetan. Anyway, Virupa. And those teachings on the path and its results. So he says, I wouldn't even say that those views are mistaken, even in my dreams. I wouldn't even dream of saying such a thing, that those views are mistaken. No.
Kidrum Sungorda. Jesajava Chimbo Yase. Chuji Pension Devar Shibe, Sunrap, the Chuji Pension the Karina Mission. Sunrap Dugu Tadale, Kamba Tome de Geshi, Gezogi, Dingin Pudu Chumale, Nanyeva. Tagwell had a Trujan Biwapala Soba to make Musu Chingilabe. Samgi Mikabe, Nanjogi Wanju Yimber, Kuyu, Shindu Rumu Kone, but Tandatam Shimaimba, but the Lomambungene, the Kidrum Jokrang Lomambungene, Kone, Leber Trune, Tzamaimbe, Kateba Tzamaimbe, Tebatembo top scenes.
No. So Kyabje himself also goes on to say that that he had developed a very strong faith based upon his own investigations and his own reasoning in the teachings that that come down from the five great Sakya masters, what do they call them? The five Sakya patriarchs or something like that. Anyway, the five great, Sakya masters.
No. Dayang Kijurum Chig Lung Changi.
No.
Kijurum Chig Sung Torbugunala. Lama Shandagi and Tiwamangutanji Tilia Kijurum Chilankungu Yore. And Tiwakashelia in Karanlia and Lama Mambo Yevekine. Lama Zocho Sum Nang Kechimu Zidu di Karimbas. Lama Sum Zocho Zidu di Karimbas Saru. That Tindiji to a Tambuni was Sumba Yore. Tinane, to a Sumba Tila, and Sanga Niman di any the Canderes Church that Tivimbare. Sanga Nima Bandila, Narabgi Kabanam Gigan, Gandujins, Narab Pungaraba Tuzuya, Sanga Nimalaya. Got in the Japsha Beja Toya Dukes. Narabi Kabanam Gigan, Gaduji. Tatayang Kuwa Deva Mount to do us, Sanga Nimal Kuwa the Nimambudus. Tatayang Kuwa Deva Mount to do. The Chindachi Sevalas, the Kidumji cannot cargumudus, Jeje, a two at the team.
Then again, quoting from Kyabje. So this is in his collected works in a text or a volume that sort of gathers together various miscellaneous teachings of Kyabje. So in this text, he answers questions from one Lama. So this Lama had asked many questions. So this was composed in answer to that. So one thing is the Lama asked, so he mentions, Kyabje talks about 3 Lamas. Just Kyabje, any the Lama soon Kechembu seers, the Sures, the
Tigua Gizankaras, the Tua Tambu Timber. Tuanya de la Parjinta, Sanga, the Kaber, Yoda Yomares, Dodangala. Sangal Tai Kaber Yodamare, Yore Yomar said to a Niva. And to a Sumba de Sanga Nimandilla, Tinsakatanya Mamudu, that the candidates Tiva.
So one of his questions, this Lama's questions that he asked Kyabje was that Kyabje had venerated very highly these. There were three Lamas that he particularly venerated, and so the question was, what is the reason for venerating them so much? That was one question. Then another question was, are there now scholars who really are expert in the sutras and tantras? And then the third question was that formerly, earlier Tibetan masters refuted and criticized the Sangak Nyingma. So the Nyingma. So the tantric Nyingmapas. Sangak is like tantra, so Nyingmas, so tantric Nyingmapas. And so there are also, he said, there are also people these days who criticize them. So he asked, what do you think?
Di Chindaji Servalas, the Kidu Rumuchegi Landela. Sanga Temba Nadargi tu Guruala, Nimata. Chitar and Guruala, Sarmashi, Sanga Sanin singing, Temba Nadar the Chitargi, the Turajujiba, or the Ngen Chumada, the Jer Chumakija, what Tirabas, the Sarmashi Juayi. Nima la kuwa dewa mawe gyutsen, lang tanme temba numne, partong chungne, sanga ba nam, in jodo la soba, joba chinji lo cheba chungwa tang. Tingsan yang kimba changlo jengi, joba mawe, kansa ki joba la pa ne, che le meba di chungwa das. Teso ganga jigdugdwa. Temi, nga nyingman di, 당보 최계를 담반남기 베로자나탕 다 마냐 승인도 로자니 계제인바다 마냐 니스는 로자니 게롱나라 소베 세메 기브르 큐바 로자와 남라 서체 샤랄라 연두 꾸네 베디 야갈파 서망보 꾸네 야가도 장데 조바 첨불라 소베 상아 라나메베 최남 빈지다당 주반예바 쯧메도 차와 베드다 빈드다이 쯧메 주반예바 쯧메인데바 차와 남을 휴식규 현양 빼만 중내당 비말라 미자당 상계 상와라 소바이 안 푸두 덴타네 대다 기장 숭배체 특발라나 메베 최섭 견당 차와 인데스 니출 냠술 랑웨 Cholwatang, Trubanyeba, Padumeva Chunga, Seme Trubos, Samye Nayans, that Samye Standa, who the Nime Gombayova, Logan Rumchi, Kenjan Buddhisa to Tabe, Gomba Tamboti, Samye Nayang, Tatung Nangurki Gabe Mandu Yobar, Dujing, Popa Lotsawe Yang, Yagardu Chembe, Yuru Charna. You use not a Nalenda Sorure, singing Lungi, Dongala Soba, Gaben Duxer, Tena, Ditabu, Tichen Lana Mebe, Chu Samola, Kuwa Deba Namni, Nyave Guru Conor Vesos. That gets Dodo Tewatire. Kiru Tsendeng Yatuber, Yagagi Pindu Tsendel Tubere, and Yagagi Pindu Tsendeng. Bimalamita the Sanje Samata to zo in per dentane and Tene Sun Shabachire, anything Yamsul to don't enjoy Chidachi or what Tende in the Dil Sanyamal Tabaina, Tibalana maybe Samalukuva Debe, any Navandra Yumato Yomaris, Cheze, what is Sumbare. The Hindu Zopachambuti, Namda in Baji. Chevre.
Gagadi Capitan
Bimalamita, Loben Pamajune, Bimalamita, Sanje Sama. Budaguya in Berwa.
Oh. And does a chitty on this list. Well, so anyway, So obviously the Rinpoche read out quite a lot from the text, but Rinpoche also what do you call it? Summarized it. So so as part of his answer, he said that you have when we talk about the Nyingma, so that's talking about the tradition of the earlier translation, the earlier propagation of the Buddhist teachings in India, and then there's also this term sarma, which is so Nyingma means like the old or the ancient tradition. Then the sarma means the new tradition, which would be based upon the later propagation of the teachings, later translations of the Buddhist teachings. So basically, pre-11th century would be Nyingma. Then from then onwards would be the sarma, the new tradition or the new translation tradition. So the thing is that if the earlier Nyingmapas were criticized, it would be because of the fact that there was this period when, you know, there was the Tibetan king who was very much against the Dharma, so, you know, this Lang Dharma. So during his time then, because he did so much to harm the Buddhist teachings, there were people who were professing to be or claiming to be, you know, the great masters, but actually their behavior was quite bad. And then likewise, even these days, when people are criticizing them, it's because they would have seen, again, you know, people who claim to be great lamas and masters and so on, but actually their behavior was quite bad. And so because of their behavior being bad, then saying that the whole, you know, just what you call it, denigrating the whole of that tradition, which is a mistake. So anyway, the main point that Kyabje made is that anybody who criticizes the tradition that was developed by the great Indian masters that were invited to Tibet, such as Vimalamitra, Pamasambhava, then Buddha Guya, and so forth. Anybody who criticizes them is criticizing the Mahayana teachings and is creating nothing but the cause to be born in the hell realms. So in other words, he was saying the Dzogchen teachings is a completely valid tradition. No. And he makes the point, Kyabje made the point that there were actually many translators and other practitioners who got incredible experiences through practicing those teachings. So that also establishes the fact that they are valid teachings. No.
Oh, that yang shi. Pidu no san jazu shuyaji chumbore. Ru gendembagi. Ta gandeni yugi. Nyamle nanye nane keta chachire. Setel sunju tunyengi. Kuzetel choguru nyenyengi. Teg nane chikungre. Yaw gindu gyaso ya rinpo mitoba. Choguru nyenye resin sunguyore. Tanda yaw gundi niba. Gindu gyaso gi. Lama imbare, loma imbare. Kusum kombangon yu nobu sansine. Kusum kombangon du kyoba chigra. Nguzi shuguyore. Kong san dube nenjo wa chimbore. Kong san dube nenjo wa chimboje. Kong san dube jerimbo chegi. San dube nenjo tarimgi drebe. Kezo dreba. Kong zesha yore. Tinala. San dube gi chiwa chugu lamje, pado lungu lamje. Kewa chugu chewa kusum lamje yorwa. San dube lungu lamje ge katula. Weseli ya jugdangi rimbatala. Lungla nedo numbe gone. Timrim da jebe gone. Weseli jugdangi rimbachigi yores.
No.
Lungi timrim la tuyo mugoba. Wesengondu chedabchigi ni yores. Da kora mixe loss subject jene. Iba kajuba so. Gom niwa namji gongbani isne. Kora subject kora nalaya. Kajuba so. Gom niwa namji gongbani jeje. Da kora rinpo demo wajo. Kora ketsam dima dine jeba ina. Dine chaja chenpo konar mases. Da chaja chenpo sana. Kajubarwa. Chaja chenpo konar mase. Gom niwa namji. Nga lamegi. Lam gomsu du ndebe. Migba shen yi la mijeba. Migba shen da durum la soba. Migba tuzu mijeba. Semgi midoba. Midoba ni yi la cheba namle. Tar wesegi ishi kizu tuya gyuwa inos. Da di domto dire. Da koli ya shibza rabuchi dinama gugu na. Denya shibar jona. Za ume nangi. Ne chasar yigam tiglinda sem sungwe lungsem juba jibe gyutsengi sem kandu simbe ne ter lung dude za umar lung shuba shungne timsun chebe wangi lungi shomba chengi kundo ne nyato gi par ngama chimala tembe tsugi wese chawa shindus lung tamje za umar tembe wangi shindu chawe wese chawe di tabsu midobo gomba che teba yinos. Ta kandar zalung gi zalung tilile net numu gowa wese midoba ni yila chene tar wese gi ishi kyawat gomnyingwa dire tibe tebares o jiksungudwa
Tarjil de nedun num mukoba che.
zalung tilile jeje ene zalung tilile net nune ji sachula timelung tim tende timrimle temo wache ta sem midoba la ya ene zedu tene ene wase chatab cheaji yores o di midoba gomba che teba yinos o dia ene lugdi tebares
Ne kusunlangi sungina kasal
lungulamje chewa chugulamje ta pado lungulamje katukita wese timzo katuti.
So then there's the great Gelug master Kedu Nozang Gyatso. So he is, he was very proficient master in the the Iwaspa lineages we usually call it, the Nyingyu, that one. So and he actually achieved union, in other words, the supreme attainment, enlightenment, in other words, later on in his life. And he was either a teacher of or student of the second Dalai Lama. So he was a great meditator of the Guhya Samaja, and he composed a Guhya Samaja commentary to the generation stage and completion stage of the Guhya Samaja, as a commentary on the writings of Jerumshe, Lama Tsongkhapa. So during his explanation of the bringing the three kayas into the path, so bringing the Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Namanakaya into the path. So specifically, in that section, in that area of the text, when he was talking about bringing the Sambhogakaya into the path and talking about the clear light, he makes this point. He makes the point that so we have these practices for manifesting the clear light through causing the airs to enter, abide, and absorb into the central channel. And so he says that there is that way to manifest the clear light, but there's also, so he had a separate topic actually dealing with this in the text. So he says in relation to the Mahamudra teachings in the Kagyu tradition, he says concerning that, there is a way to manifest the clear light without making it happen through causing the airs to enter, absorb, and abide in the central channel. So simply by meditating midoma, so like non-conceptually, meditating without conceptualization. Maybe better to put it that way, without conceptualization. So then, through then you could make the clear light mind manifest. So normally, again, the way that we hear about the way that you would cause the clear light mind to become manifest would be by what do they call it? Penetrating the vital points of the channels, the winds, and the drops. So he says, without needing to do that, with this non-conceptual meditation, so focusing on that, then you're able to manifest the clear light. So it's taught in that tradition, and he says this is that would be totally, that system is totally viable. It's totally it's correct.
이 경우 저의 신누구 양양 송야 찍라 다 벽이 추규 리멜이야 통난 냠셰 나냐기 룩직 야 라라스스 tum다 티치고 마도 현달이야 통나마나 룩직 딱고 켜버스스 잘해난다 민다민다 도하스 다 장고rum지 랑기 아니 차바몽고 시비기네 제베이나 기루 촌에 연근 송럽스 든다 가산라데 연근 송럽스 콩원에 타네기 겐덴 초기 단 동아 강갈래 켐바제고 임베 토라 아니 콩 족chen 꼴이야 냠시 15나제 이네 차조 우승기 따와 찍도 두비하기 배체된데 좀 샤여 임바래 차제 족chen 우마 됐음부디 따와 찍두기 아니 배체된데 제 원 레슨 토보 몽보도 도스 제제 디난들이야 아니 베디 니마기 탄교하게 따여 공부했다 제르무치 탄교 따여 공부 두조 강가 뱅고 바바 루루다 나와 잡고 공부 찍바 제제 누구여 봐도 도체네 누구여 봐체 다 되네 단단디 두두 지메 템베니 마스네 다디 니마와기 라마치 임바레
두두
지메 템베니 다 두두 사야데 또 림조 망보 여러와 디나네 지메 템베니 마슈녜디 아니 콩니마와치 임바체 얘나야 콩 아니 겐데 초다 지 사자다 도저 상말이야 통나치 못 나네 아니 야 갈소래 지 흉천보다 또네 아니 따와대는 매수 카세보 쉬우지 여대 봐 투모 쉬우지 여대 봐
거기서
공송다나 디지 송도 왔어 어다 된대지 임바르스 다 디나네 단단히 에네 년근 송럽 지 가시지 롱탕게 인다스 단대 두절이야 다 리스마 치베기 추규 참말이야 갈소래 구십시오 잠마임바 지 공부지 임바 렉처 랭고야 돼 오늘 타네기 갑다 둘이야 럼보여 되겠지 된대 인도 두저고 공부하는 가래 인사 때 랑루다 퉁기였다며 랑루다 퉁기 예배 차 가르도 무튼배 차 가르도 타지 차라는 신체제 가와래도 어떻게 캔과에도 개침을 했어.
Again, His Holiness, often talks about how there are certain masters or certain practitioners who take a non-sectarian, I guess we could say, anyway, Rime, like non-sectarian approach. So they like to, learn from all of the traditions, and there are others whose way is to focus on just the one tradition. And so he talks about, in particular, this person I mentioned before, Nyingong Sungrab. So this was a great Gelugpa master, very great master in the sutras and tantras, and also a practitioner and like a great master of Dzogchen. So then he composed a text in which he showed that like ultimately the understanding of the view in the Mahamudra and in Dzogchen and in the Madhyamika text, it's all exactly the same. It's the Prasangika view of that's derived from the teachings or interpreted by Nagarjuna. And then there's also a great Nyingma master called Dodrup Jime Tempe Nyingma. I should say. So he was a Nyingmapa. He was a Nyingma master, but also took a great interest in and researched other traditions, such as the Sakya Kagyu Gelu Chasang. Oh, yeah, so all three of the other traditions.
And Shungchambo, and the Jermuch Zanju Namshi saying to the Gangal Tuna Yedaba.
No.
Tashi Jet Gombar said to the Gangal Tuna Yedaba.
And not just, you know, so he wasn't just a little bit interested in the Sakya Kagyu and Gelug. For example, in relation to the Gelug tradition, he really went into Lama Tsongkhapa's Kompa Rapsal, you know, which is the commentary to the Madhyamagga, and then the Sajitik Jem, which is his commentary on the Nagarjuna's Sawasherab, you know, the fundamental wisdom verses, the Mula Madhyamagga Karika. So he also, you know, composed texts about this, you know, talking about these things. So amongst those, I would like to, not amongst actually, of those two, I would like to mention some, you know, quote some teachings from the first one, the Nyingong Sungrab. So this is because it's not just to sort of like something nice to say kind of thing, but because I think really it is something which is quite reasonable, quite suitable for us to understand, to get a kind of idea about whether these, you know, the teachings of the other traditions, are they the same as the teachings that we learn in the Gelug? Are they completely opposite, just like hot and cold, or what, or you know, where do they stand in relation to our tradition?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That did lesson jigress. That ne Benja Pandeiche. Benjalosan Chugengi Jelia and Bende Pandeiche. Benjalosan Pandeiches. Bende Pandeiches in Pebrava, Yangsi. Oh, on Bende Pandeiche and Dindeson Imbre. Tanda Benjalosan Chugen shouldn't jam Meva Matos. Shouldn't java Yovina and Tasage Pugos res. Carresna, Tuni Main Dada, Tuni Megani, and Chiwa Candis Chagres. Then Luri Lakish, Yanyo Jang, Nenjobe, Jeno Gombachik to Pups, and Gombachik Candes Pagre, Tuni Megata, Mainga Chiwa Candes Chagres. Ah, or the Diligere, or teaches Sungare.
Chick Megare, Chick Main guys, the chip condition.
The Canderes and Yak Candishuga Dukes and somewhere in Bartipejana Yore.
No. So that's one thing. Then also Panchen. So this is the Panchen Lama that came after the Panchen Losang Chigyatsan. So Panchen Palanyeshi. So what he said was, okay, so at the moment, you know, we don't have Panchen Losang Chigyatsan, but if he were here, we should debate with him. We should ask him, because he said that they all come down to the same point, right? So Panchen Palanyeshi said, and it's actually he did write this. You know, it's actually they're actually books containing this this point. He says, because some of them say that that emptiness is a non-affirming negation, and some say that it's an affirming negation. So how could that be the same? So that would be a good question to ask, he said.
Oh, that tell us Nyango Surab geese, that Nyango Surab Kandusungwarasana, and mega, that Ruja mega, Yingoyachik, the Nanchol Kazatix Nandoni like, and Yawa Meva, Tinan and Nawala, Six Chagogresne. Jizunjambang Jerum Church Kajinasha Yorba, or that was Sanganimala, the Jixun Yedaba, or Digita Labi.
No. The Tupjeta Megata and it then Nantong.
Nandoni Nane, now let's check where.
Oh, the Nebuchadnezzar. So regarding that, then the Nyingong Surap. So what he said was, so he talked about the assertion that what is to be established is a non-affirming negation, and then this something we had maybe a few evenings ago, where Manjushri advised Lama Tsongkhapa that he really needed to investigate and put emphasis on appearances, of the two appearances, appearing and empty, appearances and emptiness. So he really needed to put emphasis on appearances. So he made that point.
당에디 가자 메가 잉바디 단단히마 송아 다와는 나도니 니링체 메루한테 어디 체베나 야다 던전 숨바르샤 가자 랑문의 주바 두 참으자면 미셰강 낭조라 즉수 제거시 잠배양 가시 제라만 종가바 첨비 낭점 dim문고때 나와 딘디 로아 메바탄스 동바 캘렌터베 고바니 지스소소 나와도 다돈토베 고또 메시지 디어바 오다 리우 근데마게 딘디 지여바네시 아니 löbön buchege menga tawe chungwales dade löbön ju sungurda menga tawe chungwales mage bani chundatar gyuman na zosu nangshi chawa che nuba tangs o nawa ziksu che gogo yobate mage basında 근데 동배 턴들와 mage bani te karsore tongzam jil memba 춘다 따르 추이 다와다 유만 나소소 나신 자와 체니바 당스 마게바티기 아니 토라 아니 시티 아니 타니기 자와지 여데바치 다 베나 냠샤라야 랑은 투베 동방예베 제라 아니 제토라야 유마다고 차주지 어와 냠샤 몰라 시초전 군속대 마시고를 마도 까봐 말와 제도 걸 시초전대 아니 규모다고 나야 미대바지 샤게르와 어딘 남초 규모다고지 여버지 송고도와 어딘 남유도 다르와 다티 단다 러버름 제 명한다베 청원을 마게바니 사드 동바니 디체 춘다 따르 규만나소 순난신 자와 제누바 당스 디기 최전갑의 동바점 군조시고 동바점 많이 봐. 아니 되게 아니 냠샤들 당스나민도 아니 디 슈들이야 군조 참은디 아니 대응 그랬어. 다시 리베드바이나 가자 갑에 제 텔라 주제 주체 신고 발로 맞대 봐. 아니 군조 참은 게 그랬어. 간절로 비어로 봐. 말해. 가서 군조 참모도 문규이 차로와 군조 참모도 문규이 차로와 수도는 게 토마토베체 딸 때네 또고 말했어 용도기 또고를 차로와
고교도 문규기 개와줘로
문규단 고견이 예
수도는 게 토마토가 돼서 딸 때네 또 고해줘로
지난전에 문규도 고교도
그래
소수기우기 네버도 네버도 딸 때문에 또 거에 최저로 이거 두래 다 수도는 게 근데 네버도 딸 때문에 먹어 봐. 또 통해들 문주를 진짜 관심에 봐 여봐줘 관심에 봐 여. 관심에 봐 여봐도 문주를 해라. 딱 보면서 나를 동반이 또 살아. 동반이 또 용도 근데 근데 냠샤리야 다 그 다음에 그 나와지 넘겨로. right? Jumatavuchi Changro, the Jumatavuchi Talatin, Pugumeva is on.
Non get crala.
Tomba never talk, Chinyam Shara, the Susu Church Nangura. At the now, she got that environment, Juman, she has do something you go. There's a Ranshim ever Yoba, Munjuri, yes, Ranshim ever Yo.
Orange maybe Yobadi, Kuzutramo, Tamodi.
Wodi. Tati Tandedi, Majeba Nista, Majeba Tigi, and Kunzo Tamuchero, Chundatar, Jumanazo, Sudnashi, Chawache Nubatans. That Telia Kunzo Chajeti Kagamendua.
No.
Chunda Jumanazo Sunashi, Chawache Nubatans. Tanya Chawache, Tanya Kagamendua. Wodi. That Tigi, or Namjole, just check go we about the Lebanon Chegia, Sunguyores.
Yes. Okay, let's have a go at this. So there is a third topic. So this is anyway related to what we've been talking about. So on the one hand,
that topic Kazanki Pandawa Gombaji, Ru Gendabak Taduche, to the Jarnic Sheverba.
No.
Oh, Titan Tumba, Sanime Choni, I do Tita Tumba in words.
No. Yeah, so the main point then is, so we've been looking at emptiness according to the way it's explained in the tradition of Nagarjuna and Chandakirti. So in that view, then during the meditation, during the meditative equipoise, one realizes that nothing has even like a particle of existing from its own side. So and so we had this idea that if your understanding of things being empty seems to be the opposite of things existing conventionally, and then when you think about how they exist conventionally, then you can't sort of like take in the idea that also they're empty of existing from their own side and so on. So then you haven't really got the point at that point. At that point, you just haven't really got it. So, we had this idea from Manjushri explained to Lama Tsongkhapa that he should put particular emphasis on appearances. So what that means is that when you come out of the meditation on emptiness, the meditative equipoise, realizing emptiness, where you're simply negating your existence from its own side. So then in the what they call the aftermath experience, or the experience of this subsequent, what do you call it? The period when you come out of the meditation, then you have things seeming like illusions. So you see that they appear to exist from their own side, but you know that they don't exist from their own side. So the things are just like illusions. So during the time of the meditation, you don't see conventional phenomena, but you don't negate. That meditation doesn't negate conventional phenomena. It simply doesn't see them. It doesn't see them as existing, but it doesn't see them as being non-existent. So we have that idea in the normally in our Gelugpa teachings. So he points out, this Nyingong Sungrab, he points out that this is exactly the same as Padmasambhava taught in his the Mengatavachana. So so the garland of quintessential instructions on the view. So there he talks about how when you come out of the meditation on the unproduced, which refers to emptiness, when you come out of that meditation, then you realize subtle convention, subtle dependent arising, or subtle yes, subtle conventionality, the conventional way of existing, without needing to rely upon further reasoning. So just through the force of your meditation, when you come out of the meditation, then without having to apply further reasoning, you see that things appear to exist from their own side, but they're not, because they don't. You already know through the force of your meditation that they don't exist from their own side. And so for such a person, that convention, that subtle conventionality is a manifest phenomenon. So we talk about manifest phenomena, hidden phenomena. Usually the way that we distinguish between those is a manifest phenomenon would be one that somebody who hasn't realized emptiness, like an ordinary person, when they first realize it, they don't need to use reasoning. Whereas a hidden phenomenon would be something which would require reasoning to realize in the beginning. So in this case, for that person, the subtle conventionality would be a manifest phenomenon, because they would realize it without having to apply reasoning, just through the force of the experience of their meditation.
That loberum jig tindiji sumotam do mase, that sanga ningme nania, kunje ngachi ni singeji yo imbare, kunje longchemba, kunje jingme ningbaseji. Kunje longchemba gi ene chuin zöge nala, kunje longchemba gi zudungi, chuin zöge nala, en dinde sungu yo imbare. Jidan long mambu tangsha dita, dinane kaseba jig shubeina. Di ngane chikel tsal ni les, roba naso nansi gucharwe gyunde meche namya maju chiks ta tsarda shilishina tsar sayati tomba ni nyamsha ta karza gaza kadun tongsan mega nyamar shawder tongsan del tsar sayni
No.
shi na chigre ta shina del tele ene na naso ya shayon shida shina sayre
because it's seldom any
cell settle she ruba zai ruba ngo ruba ne dai ta ti mo ji ta kandar tongba nge ba tongba cha chi che di jelia ani tel ten chung na we cha chi shidang shinans ta shida shina di inza di ngani chigel zal ni le seti shitila ku ju che chigel zal ni le sedi rangsingi madruba tena bebe kunzo kuchoba ganga pa dushaya tiche zal niles ta shitile ene ti zal tila kariya ngoyru ba tsagiru ta sebu ju chungsu ngoyru ba ti tongba nila nyaba shabu tiche ngoyru ba ta zal giru ba sine tile ene jeto du gyumatabu ya shayo ta tsagiru ba che zal nile roba nacho nansi guchawa ta ndaminda kondegi che ndaminda nawa nacho char yungu duwas dumata uchag duwas o dunde meche namya majui chiks kunzo tsan mashiks o tind nawala chiks chegures sebu ngona duwa
no so bisamido kada de ngore betan segiri ba ta ngore be ati de tonile nyamba shabe kabla de no intil landu and de segiri be like tu so de du
segiri batela nawa nacho chagiyo che tindu gunde sangegi namshat gidi debuchen jogures meje namya machu chiks ti konje longchen ramjamba sungu hore
no chisana. Then it's not just Padmasambhava. There are also there are these two great Nyingma masters who are referred to as like the all-knowing. So there's the all-knowing Longchenpa, and then the all-knowing Jigme. So of those two, the first one, Longchenpa. So in his Jingze, so the treasury of like the ultimate expanse. So there he says very clearly, using different terms anyway. So, yeah, so I don't know. So anyway, the Tibetan terms, I have a go at translating. I'm not quite sure. So anyway, Rigpa, you know, we usually just say Rigpa because if you just say awareness or something, then it's a bit vague. So anyway, Rigpa. So there's the more Rigpa, let's say natural Rigpa. So that's talking about when you're actually in the equipoise. So that would be, in other words, equivalent to what we've been saying. The term the expression we've been using, the equipoise, meditative equipoise, absorbed non-conceptually into emptiness. So that's talking about that experience, that realization, and then the Tsegi. So then I can't remember this. So but anyway, it's the Rigpa is another kind of Rigpa, and it refers to, anyway, if you want that term, Tselgi Rigpa. So yeah, I can't remember. There's a word I can't quite remember. But anyway, it's talking about when you come out, when you arise from the meditation, and so Longchen, the all-knowing, the omniscient Longchenpa, in that text, he says that when you're in that post-meditation, meditative equipoise period, then you need to understand how all of the phenomena of samsara and nirvana are like illusions, and you need to, in other words, to understand how good and bad causes and effects still function, or they're still viable. In the sort of like when you're still experiencing the force of that meditative experience. No.
Atene tondam choje ki taji dubja tela mega ingure sati usam ki khaba sulu la mituma melas ne tangeli sini munal sung yorbas jerumche o ta ti taji dubja mega im kaja kazam ki mega ingoya ti ene mega da mainga kandes seje 퉁그레스 되게 쉬우로와 어다 상하님의 룰이야 아니 유기에서 때는 매배 qabla 아니 두자 메가 인고버티 아니 군진 롱전 점박이 단다 디두와 디머 팅존저사치 팅존저가 나라 까다 ngo보당 세마를 맞추베 도발라 되데스 까다스는 동이 들어와 Rigba meba, mariba meba, rigba me, mariba me, sanje me, semje me, ta jeba nesta tipara mambuchi yemada. Jian trubata mixu meba te, gakchu bashigi, dupchu torwa tembani, gakchu bashigi, ta kapa bashi, mado, gakchu chujan dubat, kaya tingi maris. Gakchu bashigi, dupchu torwa. Tembanis, or Riba me, Mariba me, Sanje me, Semje me, Cheje, or those Cheje, Kachubashi is, or the Indu, Taji, and the Drujati, and Megakona is. What is Sungutuas?
Drujati. Then, yes, so then there was this sort of question that was posed by the Panchen Lama that came after the Panchen Chugya, Panchen Pelden Yesira. So he said, how could it be that in terms of the view that it's you've got some saying that it's a non-affirming negation, some saying it's an affirming negation. So how could that be the same? So so in relation to that, so it's in Rinpoche's the text of Danglegish Nyingpo, the good explanation distinguishing between definitive and interpretive meanings. So he says that the Chittamatras and the Madhyamikas completely are in complete agreement that the ultimate truth, or emptiness anyway, is non-affirming negation. So then how is it that that would be the same as, the Nyingmapas who talk about, the ultimate truth being an affirming negation? Yeah. And so for regarding that, actually, again, in the teachings of Longchenpa, so he has another text called the the treasury of the sublime vehicle. So there, he talks about the meditation on the katak. So that would be like pure from the beginning, primordially pure. So that refers to emptiness. So that meditation on emptiness, the primordially pure emptiness. So he says that is a meditation that negates the rigpa, it negates ignorance. So it's like it realizes no rigpa, no ignorance, no Buddha, and so forth. In other words, it only refutes. So he's making the point that it only refutes. So nothing is implied in place of what's being refuted. And so that shows that according to his understanding, what it is that we're trying to establish is, in the case of emptiness, is a non-affirming negation. Because a non-affirming negation is where something is negated, but nothing is implied in its place.
Kada ngobo tang tsamar matube dobala tede rigba me mariba me sanje me semje me ta jebane jiang truba da mix meba te kakchu bashigi duchu towar temanis tagiti yanjo jalo jabre o tichene duja mega ingo ba ane nangjo zo che guguyo ba o tuso ganga sanga nyime choliya ene kung yedaba jida 공부 tumba 임바지 두야지 두와스 대 캐난스 신고야지 개정벌했어 다가스 기르르면 저 되게 비와바 사자발 구바 첨부여 니모 어디 조바 첨부디 시부지 야보래 카단주 요마래 아니 기르노산 자저기 아니 베데 가린고 디 왜세차도 제야텔이야 미도버 공부 코네토네 어세차도 제 요레스 어세티 따외 차네 이내야 tumba지 예대버지 어디 닝을송으로 누구도 왔어.
And so what you see from these teachings and from these teachers is they all agree that ultimate truth, that in other words, emptiness is a non-affirming negation, and they all are alike in emphasizing the side of appearances. And so, it's not just the Kulupas that say that; it's also the Nyingmapas. They also make the same point, and it's really important to understand this, I think, for us. So it's not just that Kyabje expresses great, appreciation for the teachings of the, Padmasambhava and the Sakyapas and so on, and yes, and that he said, we shouldn't criticize them and so forth, and it's not just that the Norsang, what is his name?
Norsang
Gyatso, no. That he says that there is this other way of manifesting the clear light simply by meditating on the mitopas, or like non-conceptualizing meditation. So it's not just that. If you look into the what they say, then you find that actually, in terms of their understanding of the view, they are actually in agreement.
등산이나 미밤 그 송레스나 딱 pen ru gende ba do chi na jungle mo chong ba chim sung res na be ta yin sha sha chi che chi yor was tin na shi sang ni me choli na to kun je long je ba sung ri das ne tin de ma tembe chi ma lung de che de ta kon si si do che ju me fam ge sung ri das na ta be jungle mo chong ba ju sung na shi che je che du zin ji ta chak she ru ji ye de ba yin ba re bo til kebe won ju jamia mi pham nam ye gi en nge she drummer chungi mega do in sung yores ju mi pham gi ya en nge she drummer la ya en vegetina la chungi mega do sung yores nge she drummer
no mega is
ina chungi mega yi shi lung chang men do chungi mega do sung sa ma do men do 다 때문에 밀링 군체 니 많이 가도 송반이 있네 다 민돌링 양테와 군체 니 사치도 되저 추니 많이 가이 송거야 임반다
롱진
디 롱제 말다 밀링스네 양 라마 신다레 민돌링 다 때문에
메가레스
주메방 메가레스 돈 단덴디 니시 도메나라 추니 메가 임바 송레스 이나 양님마 참말로 주님 메가 이 숭은 예바 메브레스 마인가 이 숭이 요레스 밀린 군체기 마인가 숭레스 군체스나 분야 gen신 토메 군체 로베 인연다 바보 토메 분야 gen신이자 토메 군체 쓰고
yeah so somehow sort of spinning off from that you know how it is that in the Gelug tradition, if Lama Tsongkhapa said it, then you think, oh, well, then that must be true kind of thing. So everybody really, is ready to accept whatever Rinpoche said, Lama Tsongkhapa said. So like that in the Nyingma tradition, I mean, that you don't find people so much quoting from Longchenpa, but there's this, people. If Mipam has said it, then just like us with the Lama Tsongkhapa, they would say, oh, then of course, it must be true. So, Mipam. So he says that emptiness is a non-affirming negation. So in this text that I'm looking at, there isn't actually an actual quote from his teachings. It simply states that Jang Mipam says in his text, so the lamp of certainty. No, maybe no, can't be torch. But anyway, so anyway, so it doesn't actually quote from there, but it says that in that text, it says that emptiness is a mega, non-affirming negation. And so then, yet not all Nyingmapas say that emptiness is a non-affirming negation. So for example, there is the Mindoling Kuche. So he says that it's an affirming negation.
No, that Mazolobzan Teshas Lobzan Teleshani, Kazan Tuachiganalia, Digi Tishasa Karsa, Sanjay. The Tanya Sushagi or Chevrebe.
Do you have the question from yesterday?
Yes. Oh, the first one.
It's above. Have to go up further.
No, I don't have the one from yesterday.
Don't have the question from yesterday.
The ones haven't been answered yet. Traveling and omniscient mind.
I know whose question this is.
The
The imputed table depends on the basis of label and the labeling mind. So in the case of the imputed, whose mind is doing the labeling? Just this is it. Imputed table. The chosen tobe tapit the choxiti. And it taxi thing to us. Taxi down and it taniche. Then it because the tani topati la thing to us. To the gangle thing to us. ane di kambapet tomba tongkyangina tene su gyugi ane shepagi ane da di kasa Kyabje Jhado Rinpoche kasa namgen di shagores.
Oh, namgen di dus tivre.
Lare.
Oh,
Kaza de sugan yomaras. Ayini de sangi yugi de namgen di yaba kengiras. Chesan de dagen de namgen de topitas sigras. Topi yomaras. Kaza de kambatombares. The sangi di tagi duges.
Tinge inju.
Namgen di tagi.
Ringe lenjik jaya japsa. Zamling di macha kang ya. Tijik lawi ba len tagare. Ta di tanda di sashi tikjeng tsik di pe misiwe kachambore. Sashi tikjeng nana karasungusna keje rangi tsinyi ki trube tingne jogba la kom chewe tekaba na mingi tanyengi wangi shaba zamtada jogba lolo mideyang singda lolo mideya tanda kamba tongba chasuna iti tanye sutagi resina lolo midewa yunga iti keje yutingne yoba la kom chewe koi kyondire. 띵문에 단체는 되게 껴래. 말한서 랑 진행 주베 띵네. 로 검체비 껴래. 다 되네. 감보동바 이날 잠불링 토마 주기 섬제 마중 거이나 다 대다와디 아니 연에 여러 왔다. 나래 삼바체나 만데셰잖아. 연에 여러 왔어. 시간을 떠봐 매봐. 아니 랑강강기 ये दबते ने रे यो मारवास ओ ता कंडस चने न्या यो मार रंग टोची मारे ता मैं इंदु 유춘이 마도 요 말다 유춘이 마도 매베 에는 타니 기왕기 루이 샤베 유수 디마도 로사 매데 바치기 디전 로키 디 초수 탕고레스 다데 타nye 왕기 유바 때마도 로사멘도 쓰네 다 우주 잡거레스 다 텔이야 콤베 왕기 녀야 마도 지기 텔 리버거네 어 디커드 산제 여르베 산제 도타버스 딘데 말에 산제 도타바 산제 타nye 두스 따버스 딘데 라고 초나 엔 디 여바 조제기 디 랑기 망기 매바 이 셴식 dob기 엔 조고야 잠 레도치기 여레스 아니 딘데이나 랑이 랑 칭이 주 동화 태양 아니 랑동 마인바 자야기 년가 여레스 디치두 딱 돈당 노도디 아니 연에 예 아니 랑원의 주베 동다 유주디 단위 원기 샤발 아 민장 샤발 외민도 쓰네 어 디단데디 로티 초수 당거소스 어 죽수니레네 메라 나만네 밑에나 치마를 줘봐 왜 매도 냠도 로티 초수 당신 다 여단데 되래 아니 가장 때 가시지 시야차를 어 그 두된다 시기 아니 뭐 줄이야 뭐 중요야 가요 파워 중요야 네버도 민거 샤브지를 왔어 네 레왕 샤sam지를 왔어
So I'll anyway. So it's probably obvious. So stop teaching at that point. The teaching at this point, and let's go to the question. Actually, anyway. There's the question that came about. So what it says there, I don't know if everyone can see it, but anyway, it says the imputed table depends on the basis, the label, and the labeling mind. So in the case of the empty room, whose mind is doing the labeling? Is it an omniscient mind? You have to say it's an omniscient mind that's doing the labeling. So actually, this I actually answered this yesterday. Remember, I was saying before, at the beginning of when the world. Not exactly when it's first formed, but anyway, there was a time when there was no life on the world, on the planet, right? So then the people came later. But still, the things there, even though there was nobody there imputing, labeling, still everything in the world was merely labeled, right? So in Jhado Rinpoche's commentary to, so it's the same kind of situation, empty room, the planet when there's no people on it, nobody, anyway, no people. So in the Jhado Rinpoche's commentary to the to Nagarjuna's wisdom or fundamental wisdom verses, so he makes the point that it's because of having such an ingrained habit of believing that things exist inherently from their own side and so on, that we find it quite uncomfortable to posit things as existing without them existing from their own side, to exist, existing conventionally without existing from their own side. And I think so. This idea of that when the room is empty, then is it omniscient mind that's doing the imputing? I think that this question actually comes up. That's the point that Jhado Rinpoche was making, that we find it uncomfortable to posit the conventional existence of a thing because of having such a strong habit of thinking that things exist from their own side. So the point is that things, the things in the room do exist, and we also know that they don't exist from their own side. They're not findable when you search for them in their basis of imputation. And remember this point that Jhado Rinpoche made, which is that there's only two possible ways in which something could exist. It would have to be either existing from its own side, or it would have to be existing through the force of, conceptual imputation. There's only those two ways. There's no third choice. So when you say that there should be some mind that's doing the imputing in order for it to be merely imputed, what that means is that you have this idea that that nature of being merely imputed is something that comes afterwards. There's some mind that comes along afterwards. And it wasn't merely imputed, and then some mind came along afterwards and made it merely imputed. And that would be similar to saying that things are made empty. They come into being, and then later on they're made empty of inherent existence. It would be the same kind of mistake, and it would also, risk. There would be the risk, therefore, that the emptiness that you're meditating on, that you're establishing, is a self-emptiness as opposed to other emptiness, rangtong instead of shentong. So to get this idea that the things do exist conventionally as mere imputations, we had several examples, including Gyaltsen Rinpoche's example the other day of the $10 note, and whether it sort of like inherently has this basis, this power from its own side to purchase the cup and so forth.
Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, that is.
No, so we'll stop there. Kyabje Jhado Rinpoche Chogun namda jingla cheba jo etam guru rana menda etayami. So then the Lawson get them up. Yawa malu gebe yagyu yang geze sugi shingan ramjan su gawe chuzen tuge tembe Lawson gawe temba gegyu jingye ombo togi chenga tamje zena nindo chembo je seje gawe maju tembe Lawson gawe temba gegyu je taju zame gyogo
and
Tube Dundu Shaka Chenwa Buchudu Nanshin Lunden Dembe Tu Lozan Gare Temba Kikuji Tawa
Namda
Tache Tale De Gomba Namda Jimu Numba Cheba Namda Gare Kashin Lozan Gare Temba Kikuji Mandu Tuba Gache Save Ke Tudun Jishin Gura Jave Kunyan Dendru Dundu Ngoye San Lozan Gare Temba Kikuji Trange Sunra Malu Game Du Kansa Jigi Nyamlen Tambaru Ngepa Nyepe Nyentu Tata Ka Lozan Gare Temba Kikuji Lungju Dene Sungi Chenye Dan Tobe Temba Lasun Namsu Kejin Drube Namda Medu Lozan Gare Temba Kikuji Chiru Nyendu Jobe Jijin Du Nandu Rimi Nanjuru Dingdan Den Donga Lamzan Jame Tosu Lozan Gare Temba Kikuji Guyi Tepa Shebe Tongpa Debu Tabgi Drube Dejin Nyamjo Chubun Jeti Nyimbu Lozan Gare Temba Kikuji Kebu Sumye Lamge Sume Nyunze Gwanda Namse Tenzon Danjin Gazu Tudo Gi Lozan Gare Temba Kikuji Tona Palden Lame Kuze Kizun Denzin Damna Zating Embe Jinda Ngatan Tawa Ye Lozan Gare Temba Kikuji Janjo Zemjo Rimbo Jema Ge Pana Kiku Kaba Yamba Memba Yi Kone Kon Tawa Sho Kanri Rave Kore Shingan Dependa Dewa Jongwe Ne Chere Zewan Denji Gazo Shape Side Pato Tengyo Chi Tuzu Janjin Jamgwen Yawe Tenzin Yon Bewe Kunzu Topo Jozon Kue Lemon Tutrupa Tazo Duje Kundu Shapten Sho Sangye Temba Tawa Tenzin Gyu Shape Ten Togyun Digi Jungwa Nega Tatu Tendu Sho Jamba Pawo Jita Kemba Kundu Zambo Deyan Deshin Da Gungi Jesu Dalo Gawa Dida Tamje Robu
Tusun Shebe Gawa Tamje Ngowa
Kala
Sodo
Jodo
Ngaba
Ngaba
Dagi Gere Zawa Digu Sambo Jeje Rabdo Ngowa Gi Yawo Zonga Be Chezu Namba Pawala Keke Sama Shewa Tunge Malu Samwa Sho Dada Shinge Dusun Sonye La Dene Jawa Losan Drapa Yemba Yirin Ba Yu Ji Mi Me Zewe Che Che Che